Excuse me. Oh, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Untamed and Unhinged Reptile Podcast. I'm Chris from Big Flex and from Flex and Finesse and Reptiles. And that's Tim from Interpret Exotics. And then this is David. He's a friend that we just started talking, and he's a scientist. And I want him to come on today to talk about himself too, as well as we talk about frogs with Sarah. So I'm going to go ahead. There's nothing on US Arc, right? Before we jump in?
Nothing new, not that I'm aware of. No.
No?
No.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring out
5 wins that we've been talking about.
All right. I'm going to bring
Hello.
Let me say.
Hi.
Can you hear it, David?
Now we can. You was quiet for a second.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Sarah. Tell us about yourself and what you do, what you work with.
All right. So right now I have 25 frogs in total. I have about 11 different species. Yeah, I also keep other stuff, but frogs are definitely my favorite. I've loved them since I was really little. I used to carry around a frog stuffed animal everywhere I went. So it also, I don't know where it started, but I feel like frogs have just always been there as a part of my personality, I guess.
Cool.
That's awesome. And David, go ahead and tell us about yourself as well, because
I'm a big fan of frogs. That's kind of why I guess Chris wanted to invite me on here. But my background's in biophysics and math. I do a lot with like equations and things like that. But I have a little bit of experience with animals, not directly, just kind of through my own research. I did a little bit of oceanography research, took some classes in grad school too. So I know a little bit about like marine biology, and I've also been across the sea as well. But I have more experience like with the chemistry and the lab stuff, but I do always have an interest for animals, and especially in the ocean.
Oh, sweet.
what's up, Stan? So my question is for Sarah. What led you to frogs? Like, why not lizards? Why not bearded dragons, snakes? Or
So
if you have snakes?
I started with keeping reptiles. So I had a bearded dragon growing up, but what actually got me back into reptiles was about like 4 years ago. Like I got a tank at a garage sale, and I was like, I want to put something in this tank, and so I went and got a crested gecko from I think it was Petco, and after I got him, I did a lot of research after getting him, and I was like, this setup is like not correct at all. So I went, changed everything, and then building his terrarium and everything, I was like, this is pretty cool. And then so a family friend then was like, hey, I see that you're into lizards now and everything. I have a bearded dragon that needs rehomed. Do you want him? And then so I got him, and then it just kept growing. I got into snakes, got more lizards. With lizards, I have, other than the crested gecko and the bearded dragon, I also have a gargoyle gecko and a leopard gecko. So nothing too crazy, but yeah. And then I got into snakes, but then it always came back to frogs. Now I have more frogs than anything.
What kind of frogs you got?
Oh Lord, I'll start from like one end of the room and like go around so I don't skip anybody. So I have a Pac-Man frog. He's still a little baby. He's like that big.
So much fun.
I have 7 firebelly toads. I've actually bred them. So 3 of them in the tank next door to them are their babies. The rest that I ended up selling to close friends, things like that, because there was so many of them. But I kept a few back, so I'm raising them. Then I have a Budget's frog. You may have seen her like in the memes before, like it's Wednesday, my dudes. They're really ugly frogs. But then I have 3 Vietnamese mossy frogs. I have a smooth-sided toad. I have a white tree frog that was given to me. I have 3 Amazon milk frogs, 2 bumblebee dart frogs, 2 Mexican leaf frogs, and then I have 1 giant waxy monkey frog. He's a baby right now, so he's like in a temporary sterile setup.
So you said white tree frogs, right? Like the dumpy ones, the cute ones.
Yeah, the ones that like everybody puts little hats on and stuff.
Okay. So I
No.
have a question. Good. I have a question because I got a white tree frog
Mhm.
and I set him up a setup and I put him in a little tank and he was in there for the night. Come back the next morning, the top was off. I guess he like pushed the top off and got out. So
Oh my
my
god.
my question, I never found him. So I guess I'm trying to figure out like how hardy is he? Like how hardy are they? Like do they just camp up or like
Was it
or
an adult?
no? It was tiny. It was a baby.
Yeah, that's crazy then how the lid popped off like that. But I mean, babies are more fragile, and I know with white tree frogs, they're more okay with certain like dry periods over like some that are like it's very important to maintain moisture spikes, things like that. So unfortunately, I don't know how long he's been gone, but he may have passed.
I mean, I can't find them, and honestly, so my reptile rooms turned into like my garage. So like, there's still cracks in the door to where they can probably get out, but I don't know.
He's living on the outside now with the American tree frog.
So I'm like, I don't know, because like, I went to a pet shop and I was picking up feeders to feed my snakes,
Mhm.
and uh, sorry, I was reading a comment. It says, "What does everyone use making their thumbnails for StreamYard?" I use photo room.
Thumbnails like the background or is the
White room.
I was like, you could have said it out loud, Tim.
Worse habit. I'm
But
so used to sitting and watching and then just typing in the chat and all that.
so I know. So how do you breed your frogs? Like, how's that work?
So some people, it depends on the species of frogs. Some people make rain. They're called rain chambers. It's where they, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like they replicate very rainy weather, and then so it kind of puts the frogs in the mood, like I guess. And but for some frogs, like my fire belly toads, it was as simple as just like giving them a nice terrarium. I mean, they're semi-aquatic already. And so I don't know if it's just biologically they know like around springtime or so when it gets a little warmer. Maybe my room just gets a little warmer. But that's when I noticed they start dropping eggs, things like that. And then, so they just kind of do it on their own. So that's why I guess I've had so much success with them, I guess because it's easier compared to other frogs. But then, unfortunately, I have to make like a separate thing for the adults because I don't want to tamper with the eggs or the tadpoles. And then if I leave them all in there together, then the parents will like eat the babies, unfortunately. So it
What?
becomes
I
a
didn't know
little
that.
cautious. It's fun, but it's also a lot of work.
Not bad.
I mean, if you guys have questions, I can just go ahead and cut me off.
I have a question. I was wondering, was there anything surprising to you, like when you transitioned to frogs? Because I know working with certain species, there are certain conventions and certain things that you need to watch out for and avoid. So, is there anything that just stood out to you, like, oh, I didn't know that?
Nothing
That's a
really
good
jumped
question.
out to me. I was like scared to keep frogs for the longest time. That's why I never got any. But then I kind of just, my boyfriend was like, "You love frogs so much. Why don't you have any?" And then so I was like, "Cause I'm scared. Like I've always heard they're so fragile that I feel like
Hmm.
no matter what I did, that's like to the T of being right. I feel like I would not be successful with it." And then so we went to one of the Hamburg reptile shows up north from us, and probably not like they're definitely not labeled as like a starter frog. I got Vietnamese mossy frogs, the 3 as my first frogs, and surprisingly, I was like, they're pretty easy. Like with them, they're semi-aquatic, so they have a really big water feature. So I guess that was the one thing that surprised me, is that they weren't as difficult as I thought they were going to be. I haven't had any issues with any thus
And
far.
now, bringing up the aquatic aspect, right? So for reptiles, they don't have that side in their life cycle. So how do you accommodate for that? Like, do you have certain aquariums that have like that component that maintains moisture and things? And in earlier stages of the life cycle, do you have to have like you mentioned the sterile aspect, right? So how does that work?
Like for breeding, or just like
Yeah,
in
for breeding, like when you have the younger specimen, and then also like going into adulthood, how do you maintain moisture, and how does the terrarium setup look different than if it's just a
Oh, yeah.
typical reptile?
So when the eggs at first, usually it takes like up to a week for them to first like form into a tadpole. They almost, when I first bred them, well, I didn't do it, but like when I first noticed that they had, I was like, what is that? Because they look like little white things, and they like stick to the side of the glass. And I
Mhm.
messaged one of my friends that's really big into frogs. I was like, are these tadpoles? Because they're like moving, but they're also like not. And then he was like, yes, those are tadpoles. Like they don't move a lot at first. And so I was like, okay. And so one important thing to have in there when they're young in tadpoles is I use an air stone. So it provides like oxygen into the water, and also
Mm.
like it keeps the water moving kind of, so it doesn't just sit there stagnant. And then for the adults, to maintain moisture, all of my frogs, for the most part, are in bioactive setups. So I noticed that the plants help keep the humidity up, as well as each tank has a nozzle in it that I have an automatic mister going off in. And for semi-aquatic, some of my semi-aquatic frogs, my budget's frog, I have a filter in there with her, as well as an air stone. The mossy frogs, I just tend to change their water once a week, and I don't have a problem with any algae, nothing getting nasty.
That's cool. I was gonna ask too, like, how do you replica the tanks for the frogs? I guess the species of frog that you have. Like, do you just like how do you pick out your plants? Is what I'm asking.
Oh, so I love plants, but I don't know the tons of different kinds. One of my staple plants to go to is a pothos, because they're so easy to care for, and they kind of just like take off and do their own thing, and fills the tank up. I do have in my Mexican leaf frog tank, I have a mini basking spot for them, because I learned that with them they like to bask a little bit. It is a low wattage, but I have a snake plant in there with them, because I was like, I mean, they can handle like a little less moisture, I guess. But usually just like the basic kinds. I have a lot of pothos, Dracinia, I believe it's called. Usually plants that are labeled like easy to grow and that can withstand like okay humidity.
Those are the
And
only
do you
kind
see?
I can grow. I kill anything else. I'm terrible with plants.
I noticed my plants do so well, like because with regular house plants they would always die, like what you say, like I wasn't good, I did not have a green thumb. But when I switched to like a good like substrate and good lighting, like that was it in the terrariums. They do really well, and then I just make sure they're watered.
So, like, what's your plans for lighting? Use UVA or UVB or?
So I use for the plants, I have a really good LED light, and then
Okay.
for the soil, I use an ABG mix that it's like has like orchid bark, and it has a few different things, and there's charcoal in it. I ordered it from Pangea. It works good.
And like, do you have any frogs you can show us right now?
Any frogs? What? Oh, I can show
You
you.
could show us. Yeah.
Yeah, let me see. My white tree frog, before I got on, like he was calling, like, "Hey, I want to get on." So let me see if I can pull him out. Pretty chill. Then when I do, sorry, my chair is loud. When I do handle them, I always wear like some gloves. If I have to move them really quickly, like I need to grab their water bowl or something, and they're just chilling on the edge, I will quickly just move them. But if I have to handle them or really have to get in their enclosure for things, then I will put gloves on.
And is this mostly for like pathogenic aspect, or is it like chemical as well? Because I know they're very sensitive. Their skins are very sensitive to things, right?
Yeah, they have a semi-permeable skin, so anything that is on your hands, whether it be like you washed your hands but you use scented soap or just your hands creating natural oils, like it's gonna soak into their skin.
Hmm.
So I just do it for, I guess, just to make sure that they stay healthy.
No, that's smart. I think it's better than not to take the precaution, right? Just be safe.
So what if you just like sanitize your hands and then pick them up? Is that still not good for them?
Well, she said like the chemicals, like it could be anything on your hand. Like they're very
Oh,
sensitive. And they're
anything.
also,
Oh,
yeah, they're
okay.
also really small too.
Never mind then.
So, yeah.
Ah, look at you.
Oh.
Here's Bugsy.
That's a white tree frog, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I was working at a vet clinic, and one of the veterinarians there was like, "I have a green tree frog. Do you want him?" And I was like, "Sure," thinking it's like a little American green tree frog because I had a couple at the time. And then I was like, "She's had it for a while. It's probably really healthy." I was like, "It could use a buddy." And then she brings me this dude, and I'm like, "That's not an American green tree frog. Like, he is chubby."
So what is your favorite thing about this frog?
This frog?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's crazy. Like, he's very food motivated. Like, I need to, like, most of my tanks have barriers in between, but his tank at the moment is next to another frog's tank that doesn't have a barrier. And if I feed them first and he sees a cricket in their tank, he will go ballistic. Like, he will like be like on the glass, like, "Where's mine at?" Like, think that he can go through glass to get it.
He's gorgeous though. Man,
Yeah.
I'm so mad that mine's got out.
You gonna do
Man,
it?
I had to go buy another one, but they're actually really cheap. So the one I got was $50, and the baby was like that big. I want to say.
Yeah, some of them, with white tree frogs, some of them I notice at shows are cheaper because they're wild caught. So they're like, a lot of them like come from Australia, and you can't like import from Australia, but some of them come from like New Guinea and different places like that. So I believe that's where they import them from. So some of them can be wild caught. So that's why I want to get him a friend, but I want to wait until I know that I'm getting a really healthy adult, because I don't want him to eat like his little brother or sister.
Is that a boy or a girl?
It's a boy. He calls like, "Hey, look at me," like all the time. He has a very loud call.
And then, are you gonna like? Do you plan on breeding those? And wait, do you vend any shows or any expos?
No, I don't. I want to at some point, maybe. Like, I even have a little name for myself. It's called like Sarah's Ribbits and Exhibits. I'm like, that's a good name.
Nice.
That's an awesome name.
Right.
I like that. That was cool. Yeah. I was like, that's an awesome name. Yeah. So do you like? Are you trying like? Do you work, or are you trying to make this a full-time job? Working.
So
like,
I'm not. That would be awesome. I would like to do like the social media stuff. I'm just so lazy about it, like of like consistently posting, or like I feel like I run out of ideas for making reels and TikToks and stuff like that. So I mean, like, he just peed on me. That's cool. But yeah, right now I'm like, I don't really know what I want to do. If I want to go to school or something, or I want to do Froggies full time. I'm not sure yet.
I don't know. I think you could do it. Cause isn't Josh Frogs, right? They're the big one out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their frogs are amazing. Do you have like any dart frogs or?
Yeah, I have two bumblebee dart frogs.
What do those look like?
They're hiding.
Those must be
Maybe I
black
can
and
look
yellow
up
ones.
of something and find one. They literally look like bumblebees. They're like black and yellow striped.
Hey David, if you could get a reptile, what would it be and why?
You know, Wait, so I don't think we do salamanders. They're considered amphibians. Dang, I was like, because I know they look like lizards a little bit. Reptile. Oh, like
Well,
snakes. I think
it could be
snakes are.
whatever. Yeah, it could be whatever you want. It could be amphibian, reptile,
So,
anything
so
like.
when I was younger, I think I had a soft spot for amphibians, and then salamanders I thought were really cool. Like I thought newts and all that. They just look really interesting. And then when I grew older, I saw a lot of like the snake, like YouTube influencers stuff, and they bred a lot of like the ball pythons and things like that. So I thought that was kind of neat. I just haven't found like a time in my life where I kind of settled down and have like a little spot to like kind of have them. But I think maybe I might start off with like a ball python or like some kind of snake or something.
For real?
Yeah,
Why
yeah, I
not?
think
Why not
they're really
pursue your
neat.
salamanders thing? You know how many different salamanders out there?
Yeah, I know there are, but you just asked personally if I was just gonna start off, like maybe I'd start off simple, but and work my
I
way
did.
up.
You're right. You're right. I did.
It's a commitment, like you see Sarah, she has a whole setup, like a whole room and everything. I might get a little too, if I get a little too ambitious, then I might end up, not doing it quite right. So, you know.
Yeah, it takes a lot of research. How do you do your research? Do you write it down, Sarah, or do you like read it and then do it?
I
Like when you research
read
your frog?
it. So a lot of like care info, like you mentioned earlier, Josh's frogs. I I trust them with a lot of care information, so that's where I get a lot of it from. Um, off the top of my head, I can't remember like other like other people like other websites and things like that. But Josh's frogs is definitely the first one that I look at, and then I do have a couple friends that also keep frogs. So if I know that they keep a specific frog and that before and they've been really successful with it, I'll be like, what was your setup like? And that's how I got before I got my budgets frog. One of my friends, I was like, because he posts frogs all the time. I was like, have you ever kept a budgets frog? He's like, oh yeah. I was like, how'd you keep it? And then so I basically did like exactly what he told me, and she's doing amazing.
So my question is like, so when you research a frog and so like he asks you like, do you know how to keep this frog? That's like being responsible. That's awesome. I like that. But because then that makes you want to work and learn what this frog like how this frog lives in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So I mean, I like that. That's cool that they do that. And you said Josh's frogs did that, correct?
Yeah, Josh's frogs, they have I get like care information from like their frogs. Like if one of the frogs that I'm planning on getting, like they sell it or something, because usually when they sell a frog, like they have like the care information below it. Or if I even if it's out of stock, if I type in the frog, the species of frog, they're usually like the first ones that pop up because they have a care guide for it.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the best way to
So
do it, man. It can be so hard to find good information out there because, I mean, you look up care guides and you can find 15 different ways to do it. Most of them's wrong. And then you go to somebody like Josh's Frog and you say, hey, man, this is what I seen and this is what I tried and it didn't work. And they're like, well, yeah, because all this stuff's wrong. And
Yeah,
it's
I've
hard
heard
to find.
that if you type in a species names over a common name, I've heard that more reliable stuff will come up as well.
That makes sense.
So
that's cool.
speaking of that though, have you in your own personal experience like we're experiencing like a difficulty or a failure or something like that, and then learning from let's say Josh's frogs or some other person, you kind of remedied that problem? Have you ever had that experience?
Yeah, so actually my baby giant waxy monkey frog. So right now he's really small, and but they get pretty big. They're like one of the biggest frogs like you can have. And so me being like excited, I went and put together a whole bioactive setup, and this was on me. But see, if I mess up, like I always like can fix it so fast, like and be like, oh crap. So I put together a really nice bioactive setup for him, and I brought him home. And then I went on Josh's frogs, and it said, actually, because of how small they are, you want to put them in a sterile setup because there's the natural bacteria and stuff that can grow in a bioactive setup. can harm them because they're so fragile. And so I quickly was like, sorry, dude, I can't put you in your nice setup. You have to go in a little sterile tub for now. So yeah, so right now I just have an empty terrarium, but it'll be nice and grown out by the time he gets in it.
So in the wild, does the sterile setup kind of mimic like just like the water? Like, are they just in the water like when they're really young and then they kind of, you know, get out? Like what would be like the nature's equivalent to that?
To be honest, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure if maybe just in the wild, maybe they don't thrive as easy because they don't have access to like something that's very minimalistic, or yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, no, I was just curious if there was like a connection there, because I know, you know, frogs are super sensitive, so like any changes in the environment is really important. So like there might be like some like open spaces and stuff that they kind of thrive in or something. But yeah, like obviously like growing anything in the house or, you know, in your setup is going to be a little different than what's in nature. You know, you're always optimizing, making things perfect. But I was just curious if you knew anything about that, because and how long do you know how long like they recommend doing that, like the sterile setup?
So they recommend it. Also, to add on what you just said, I'm not sure if it's different either, because the frog, I actually did get him from Josh's Frogs, and he's captive bred. So I'm not sure if there's any correlation. But they say when they get, I think it's about like 5 inches, something like that, then they can go into regular setup.
So,
and what does a sterile environment consist of? Just to kind of tell the viewers.
Yeah, so he's in just a low. It kind of, to him, it seems like it has a lot of vertical space, but to us, like, it doesn't seem like it has a ton. He's just in a little tub, top opening, and he has a suction cup, like bamboo branch, in the middle of it, so he can perch up there. He has a water bowl and then damp paper towels, like on the bottom, that I change about every other day. Just keep it clean and give him fresh water. And I mist him once a day.
I think it's a dumb question, but I mean, I don't know, and I'm gonna ask. So, like, what do tadpoles eat? Like, how do they eat? Like, there's a little egg or like this or whatever it is.
Yeah, so they can eat aquatic plants. I have these. They can eat fish flakes. I ordered some tadpole flakes from Josh's Frogs, and I believe that they look like fish flakes, and I believe that they kind of have like probably like bloodworms, like different types of proteins and stuff in there, like made into a flake, so they're getting protein and things like that. You can also put algae wafers in there for them.
Yeah.
So that's like what we do for keeping, right? But if it was out in the wild, it'd be just plants or something.
Yeah, they also eat out of their egg too, so you have to keep that in mind. The egg has nutrients as well. But yeah, once they transition, so they eat the part of the egg, and then they start to go out, and then like you said, a lot of it's like plant matter first, and then once they get bigger, they can transition into like eating like you know, like being carnivorous and eating that aspect of their diet. So.
See, there you go, bro. You should be a frog person too.
Yeah. You definitely need a frog.
Right? A white tree frog.
Actually, I'm super guilty. I save a bunch of frog memes and stuff like on my phone, like frog videos. I love frogs.
Once you get one, you're gonna be like me and have like 20 plus.
Well, because I want white tree frogs, and then I want the tree frogs, the red-eyed tree frogs. But then they also come in different colors. Have you seen all the different colored ones? There's a purple and yellow. The albino tree frog.
Yeah, I've seen like burgundy red-eyed tree frogs, albino. I've seen them come in different colors.
And those things are gorgeous. I'm like, man, but the money people want for them is like, what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like,
I feel like
I'm just gonna stick to this tree frog here.
I feel like if you're gonna breed frogs, you'd have to like breed some bougie ones, because like Like for instance, the ones that like the firebelly toads. I mean, their price has been fluctuating because they used to come in wild caught, but now we only have captive bred ones, which is awesome. Um, but I've been seeing them like they only. I mean, I say only because I mean it's like a frog though, but it's like $50 for one, and then so. But you have to take into consideration if you have a lot, like when they're tiny, when they're froglets, they eat fruit flies usually, and then when they get a little bigger, they can eat like tiny crickets. And I I spend a lot of money like feeding them when they're little. It's like there's definitely like no profit there. You have to do it because you love it. Like,
So Sarah, what do you know about this frog here?
is that? I might be wrong. Is that
Is it like a
a
leopard or something? It looks like a
clown
leopard,
frog?
like
No,
Clown frog?
it's actually a giraffe frog.
oh,
The
giraffe.
giraffe.
That's what
That's
they call
what.
it.
Yeah.
It's very big.
It's a
It's
reticulated
gorgeous, right?
frog, eh?
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
my friend actually breeds these, but I've been trying to get him to come on, but he's so busy he can't come on.
Hmm.
But I met him at an expo, and he breeds these um right here.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
oh well, not here in Texas, but he breeds them here in Florida. There you go. Yeah, the giraffe tree frog. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Those
I
are
was
you can
thinking
see it.
clown frog or something.
Yeah. Also, Sarah, just real quick, for the chat, Colleen was asking how many frogs do you have? What's the number at right now?
I have 25 frogs.
Well, there you go. 25. And also another
So
quick question before we move on. So when you say you miss the frogs, do you use like special water? Like is it like deionized water or something like that?
Oh yeah, so I use Reptisafe, and then it's 2 drops per cup. So I just equate that out, and then I fill up the. I have an automatic mister, and I keep that filled.
So when you say Reptisave, is it like a solution you add and then you fill it up with water?
Yeah. So usually the jugs that I use or something, I'll put the drops in the bottom, and then I'll put the tap water in there, so I know that it's getting mixed up. And then I haven't had any issues with it. On the Reptisafe bottle, it says that it dechlorinates it pretty much immediately. And
Yeah.
so I just trust that, and then I've had no issues with it.
Okay, just curious. Yeah, because when I was a scientist, I did a lot with deionized water, and not like it with biological specimen per se, but that's kind of like the standard for like having pure water. So I was just curious if there was something similar for keeping frogs. So.
I know some people like can't they like leave water sitting out and then it'll like separate the chlorine and water will
The
separate.
chlorine evaporates
Yeah.
out of tap water eventually. It'll aerate off of it. But I've never trusted when I was keeping aquariums, I never trusted it.
Yeah, I'd be so scared that like maybe it's just sitting at the top or something.
Yeah, it's
But that's
supposed
what
to drain off for the most part, but not always. Like when you go to the fish stores that I used to go to, I'd just take 5-gallon jugs down there, and not buckets. We had jugs with lids and stuff, and we just go down there and fill up with the salt water. And
I am reading online though something you might look at. I don't know, depending on the concentration, they cannot remove heavy metals or like toxins from tap water. So it's only dechlorinating it. So that is maybe something to think about. But I do know that like some like depending on where you get your water, they obviously try to regulate it. So the levels might not be high enough to warrant anything, but that would be something to consider.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I'll definitely look in like exactly where.
Yeah,
we're
especially over time, I think, because I don't know if like the metal, like if there was some trace amount of heavy metal in the water, I don't know if it would like accumulate. Like I don't know how that works, like in the terrarium, what you're using, but that might be a concern. So.
Okay, I had no idea.
Is that like mercury or something?
It could be anything, like like I don't know what what is the profile of heavy metals in
mercury
that
and
water.
lead.
But they have several different heavy metals that are like somewhat toxic. So, on average concentration, just off the cuff, it's like iron, aluminum, lead, nickel, copper, chromium, selenium. So, and given that Sarah knows the semi-permeable skin and everything, like if there's anything like that, it might build up or something. But yeah, I'm not a water expert, nor am I a frog expert, but it might be something to to look into.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely look into it. I had never considered that.
I didn't even. I see this stuff. I don't even know.
Yeah, Sarah, where are you based out of?
Virginia, like Southeast Virginia.
Okay. Yeah. Well, different states have different types of water going on. I don't know how it is in Virginia, but I know, for instance, Florida. Like, I don't know if everyone knows Florida. Like the sulfur in the water, you can smell it from the tap. So
Yeah.
that's not a metal, but things
Really?
like that. Like every region has their own kind of profile in the water. So
So what? You don't drink the tap water in Florida, or what? Is that a rule?
you can. It just makes your breath smell kind of bad or something. It's kind of weird. I visited once for a business meeting, and it was interesting. So
What are they called? One jumped on me and stuck. I freaked out, laugh out loud. Florida, they have frogs with suction cup on their feet. What is that
Florida's got
called?
everything.
Most tree frogs have the sticky feet. They're just called toe pads, and they can make themselves stop very abruptly, like jumping from tree to tree. I don't know what the exact statistics of it are, but they're able to go jump like so fast, but able to stop like immediately on those toe pads.
I
I'm
know,
gonna tell you
I know they'll stick to your forehead when they want to.
what.
We was sitting down there actually in Florida. I was watching a little tree frog on a fern down there, and the thing jumped off and stuck right in the middle of my forehead. And it stuck there. And I'm
They'll
just
pee
sitting
on you
there for a
too.
second going, damn, I got a frog stuck in my head. And then he jumped off back onto the tree. But when he did, he emptied about, he's this big, and somehow he released like a whole gallon when he
Yeah.
peed on my face as he jumped away.
I feel like that exact thing happened to me. Like,
I'm sitting there going, you little turd.
He's like, I'm just gonna jump on your face to pee on you.
I know, it was rude.
Sorry, Sarah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're
She's all
fine.
trying to talk.
I feel like that exact thing happened to me too. Like we took a trip down to like South Florida and like to go down to the Everglades and stuff. And then one of my favorite things to do when we were down there was like spotlighting, like herping at night. And all the street frogs were out, all those Cuban street frogs. And like I remember catching them and then them immediately like peeing on me. And they can like shoot that pee out too, like like.
Isn't there a frog that spits at you or something?
They can be, yeah. It's kind of like a defense mechanism, like they're scared. Like
Yeah, but they
so,
can spit at you though, right?
oh, spit at you? No,
Yeah.
I know.
No? I thought there was. So what is this, sir?
That is a.
Because I have no idea.
Oh my god, why am I drawing a blank? Like I know exactly what that frog is because it's one of my dream frogs. It's like a.
Yeah, it's one of mine too. That's why I have it here. The only thing that freaks me out about this frog is the face.
Fringe
Why does it look like a man face?
I don't know. Is it a fringed leaf frog?
I'm not sure. David, can you Google that and tell us what it is?
It actually looks similar to a fringe leaf frog.
I always get them mixed up.
Is it
A white line tree frog?
Oh no, that one is. It is a fringe leaf tree frog, or fringe tree frog, or fringe leaf frog.
Those frogs are so.
It's an Amazonian tree frog. It looks like.
Yeah. So my buddy also breeds those right here. And I don't know if you know him. His name was Tree Frog Connections.
Yes, that's the. I think that's the guy that I asked for budget frog information for.
Yeah, he was.
Does he have like a bulldog?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then like he has his hat and has like a frog leg for the like on his hat for his logo, and the logo of the frog is actually on the hat is this guy right here, this giraffe frog.
Oh, but he's had some amazing toads. Like, it blows my mind. I think that's why like I ended up following him because on one of my my Instagram Explore page, like I was seeing like these super cool looking like toads, and I was like, whoa! And then so I followed him.
Yeah. My favorite toad is the Harley Quinn toad.
Oh yeah, I have a friend that has some of those. I don't have any personally.
I have a follow up on your question, Chris. So, so like Sarah was saying, those behaviors and stuff, they're all defense mechanisms. They're all evolved adaptations. Now, I was reading. There's one where this frog will spit out this like sticky fluid or something to try to catch prey. But there's another case that there was this researcher studying some frogs, and they shoot venom out of their head. So, there's a bunch of stuff going on out
hold
here in
up.
the frog kingdom.
What kind of frog is that? Because I'm not going near that
Let me
thing.
write that down.
Yeah. I can put the article. I can put the article in the private chat. I don't have access to the group chat right now, but that's one of them I found. And then
I can't put this up. You would have to like screenshot it for me or something.
oh, the link, you can't take the link off.
No, because
yeah,
I don't have my laptop. I'm doing it from my phone because I was swimming today.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, yeah, I went swimming. I was a frog myself.
Here, I can just let's see here. I'll just access it with my personal YouTube.
What just happened there?
Oh, what? It
We froze
failed.
for a second, but we're good now.
Yeah, I know that was weird.
It doesn't let
So
me.
sir, go.
Huh, that's weird.
Yeah, it's probably not gonna let you because I need to give you access, and right now I have somebody else. My regular co-host has the access, so I'm probably gonna have to do that later.
It's okay.
But
Next time we'll figure it out.
but Sarah, go ahead and plug yourself because we're like already in 41 minutes in, and you seem really comfortable now.
You said I seem uncomfortable?
No, I said you seem really comfortable now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Because
In person,
you were
I
like I'm nervous. But yeah, go ahead and plug yourself where people can find you and look at your frogs.
How do I do that?
You just say you can find me on Instagram, Facebook.
You can find me on Instagram at Sarah's with an S on the end .frogs. Facebook is just my name, Sarah Hollis. And yeah, I think that's on TikTok is the same thing, Sarah's.frogs. I'm gonna try and do better about posting more frogs. I need to stop being so lazy about it. But yeah, thank y'all for listening to all the frog talk.
And David, you want to plug yourself?
I don't have anything to plug right now. I'm just kind of bouncing around. But if I'm ever working on a project or something, then I'll put myself out there.
Are you on Instagram though? You don't have an Instagram?
I do. I have a personal one.
Oh yeah, that's right. You got to make one.
I haven't worked on that yet. Yeah.
I'm gonna help him out, guys. Don't worry. He's gonna do frogs and salamanders. We'll get that going.
I'm in good hands. Chris is a cool guy.
Frogs are my favorite. What's up, Kara? I haven't seen you in forever. So I'm gonna have. How's the frog community? That's what I want to know. Is there a lot of what I'm trying to get is like negativity feedback, like in y'all's community, or no? Is everybody pretty positive there, or?
I feel like compared to like reptiles, I don't know. I feel like I've just started like reaching out to following different big frog people. There's a lot less I've noticed compared to like people who keep reptiles. But I feel like it's more laid back than reptiles are. Honestly, I feel like there's less bickering. And some of the Facebook groups, there's like a couple that are like they're very nitpicky about stuff, but like for no reason. But overall, I think it's more laid back than typical average reptile groups and communities.
Yeah, I can see them being a little bit more chill.
I feel like maybe because it's smaller, like at least when it comes to like care guides, most people when they think of frogs, like a lot of like the groups that I'm in are just like have to do with just showing pictures of frogs. So it's less so about like how's your setup and more about like this frog is cute. I feel like a lot of people don't really know about care frogs or like actually keeping frogs. They're more just frogs are cute. Let me see pictures of them.
Yeah, I'm an expert of that. I'm in like 10 of those groups, so she probably saw my profile. I was posting some frog memes. Now, it's so easy. It's just copy, paste, save. Like it's just simple. Like we just like seeing pretty stuff. So like there's a bunch of frog and the frog videos too. Like any of the frogs that like make calls or like Like there's that one frog, I don't even know the species, where it squeals when you touch it and stuff.
Yeah, that's the budget frog.
Oh,
Yeah, that was really funny. Yeah, there's a bunch of funny videos about that. Like the frog will overreact or something, or like they'll try to feed it like a worm or something, and then the frog would like get scared and then just start screaming, and it's like, you're supposed to eat the worm. Why are you making a big deal? It's really funny.
My budget's frog, I got her when she was like, she's still small, but I got her when she was pretty young, so she doesn't scream yet. That's what the breeder lady told me at the reptile show I was at. She was like, yeah, she's still pretty young, so she's not going to scream. And I was like, that's good, but also kind of,
So,
I kind of wanted to hear it when I was playing.
I may go
ahead, Dave.
I was going to
Yeah,
say, you mentioned this earlier. I was going to ask, but it kind of, we passed over it. So you noticed the sexual differences, right? The male and female, like you said, like the calls and stuff. Can you determine that just yourself? Like if you hear like a certain frog species, can you be like, oh, that sounds more like a female than a male? Or do you just kind of reassert that like just by knowing, because you do know that it's a male ahead of time?
It depends. So some usually like when they're adults, females tend to be larger. I know some species of frogs, like people will mistake it for like a call when it's really just like they're making noises, because whether it be like they're not in the mood to mate or whatever, but it's the adult males are the ones that are calling. They're usually on the smaller side. Then with some, like the fire belly toads, and then a lot of other frogs too, the males will have a nuptial pad, and that's it could be like an extra toe or like a nub that kind of gets
to hold on, right?
Yeah, to hold on.
Right?
I thought you were telling me to hold on. I was like, okay.
No, to hold on.
Yeah, I was like, what happened?
Yeah. That's the adaptation for them, because what's interesting, I saw some. Sorry to cut you off, but I did see some research. Was kind of interesting about frogs and like the calls and stuff. There is like this. I don't know if it's like species specific or if it's general, but there is these like small like frogs, like male frogs, that their strategy was they would pretend to be other frogs, right? So you'd have this big buff frog and it would do its beautiful call, and then the female would get attracted, and then this small frog would come in and be like, hey, I'm this frog, and then mate with the female, and the female was like basically getting confused and stuff. It was kind of funny. So they were like posing, you know?
Yes, I've seen that before. Like I don't actual certification, but I did take like for fun like this course with the Amphibian Foundation, and I saw like a lot of videos like that, and there were sections talking about frogs, just because I was so intrigued by it. And I think I saw like a clip like that of like the big frog like calling and being so pretty, and then the little guy just like hops in there.
Yeah, they're sneaky, man. Those frogs. Any animal species, they have those sneaky strategies, but it was funny to think about that, you know? Like the beta, it's like the beta frog coming in, trying to swoop the girl, you know?
But like with the nuptial pads, my mossy frogs, like every night it's like they're singing like a song, like, but I didn't know how many of them were calling, and so they're big adults now. And one day he was like sticking on the glass, and I saw like these pink like nubs like on his front feet, and I was like, I think I know what those are. I was like, but let me look it up. And so I guess like around this time, maybe it's breeding season-ish for them, I guess, or maybe they think it is, like, because I mean they're in captivity. But I read that the females can have subtle like kind of nuptial pads in a way.
Oh, I see. Yeah, kind of like a receiver to like kind of like have.
Yeah, but the males, like I read that theirs get really big and like kind of red pink or whatever. And so I was like, okay, then that one's definitely a male that's on the glass. Let me see who else is a male in here. And so all three of them have those big nuptial pads right now. And so because I used to think, I was like, they're kind of like hugging each other, like in plexus. That's like the term for frogs, like if they're mating. But I guess since they're all males, they're just trying to assert dominance on each other by just getting on top of each other.
Weird. That's cool though, but cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool though, but cool. Like that's all I could say, because I'm like learning all this information from you guys. I'm like, okay.
Oh, so, by the way, I don't mean it correct. It's called nuptial.
Oh, I'm back. Okay, Bad pronunciation.
Yeah, sorry, it tripped me out when you said the pad thing, but I figured it out with how you described it. Yeah.
It's
So they,
nuptial.
nuptial. That's how you say that.
Okay.
Yeah. But so the pads, they just grow them, like they get into the mood or something, and then they'll just like is the appendage kind of there, and then it just gets bigger, or do they just kind of grow it, like it just comes out? Of nowhere?
I guess they always have them, but they just become kind of engorged like during like mating season.
That's so interesting, and you can tell, right? Like you said, it's like a different color, right? Like it just sticks
Yeah.
out.
Let me see. Let me see if I can grab one of my mossy frogs and I can like show you.
Yeah, that's just fascinating to me.
Yeah, you want a frog, bro. Look how excited you are.
Hey, don't tempt me, Chris. I don't have much money right now.
Bro, go to the expos. But go on a Sunday. You might get a deal.
Half the vendors might be gone.
Yeah, true. That too. I'm going. I think I might go Sunday to Houston to see some of the hognose like people. Sir Cheese. What's up, Sir Cheese? How's it going?
He's looking for those frogs.
Oh yeah.
He just has the eye emoji.
So
I'm trying to show my.
mossy frogs too will kind of
So
that's
if they're really stressed, they'll kind of play dead, like they'll like ball up, kind of like a
He's
spider
playing.
will. But let me see if he wants to cooperate.
Wow, that's crazy.
You can kind of see it like right.
Oh yeah, that little bull.
Yeah. Oh. It's like, I'm out of here. I don't like the camera.
He's shy. He's camera shy.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what my Tengu did when I went to feed him earlier.
Wait, oh, he charged the camera?
Oh yeah, yeah, he jumped just like that.
It was
that
funny.
place is
We got some pictures taken of the frogs like back in January, and it was very, very fun trying to catch them, trying to make them sit still to take pictures.
Oh man, wow, that's gorgeous. So he has some beautiful frogs. Oh, there it is. Better. Hold on.
Ooh,
Oh, his eyes are badass.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
See, I'm trying to show my sponsors that I can do their aquatic shipping too. So they can sponsor me for the aquatic side because I'm trying to get fish and amphibians and for that like sponsorship, I guess. But we'll see what happens. Plus, I just like spreading positivity throughout the whole community. I'm just trying to bring people together. I like bringing species I know nothing about on. Like yesterday, like the boas, man. That like I said, like me and Tim were talking backstage, and Sarah, that live was 3 hours long. 3 hours, bro. Great live. Hey Sarah, do you plan on getting any more frogs?
I think right now I'm gonna take a break. Honestly, like in my little room, I don't really have much more space. But so, yeah, I think for now I'm gonna take a little break.
Oh, actually, curious a little bit. How do you keep up with like the cleaning in the room, right? Like the air and just maintaining the room itself, since you have so many exhibits, like kind of the terrariums and all that in there.
So I actually keep an air conditioner like in my window just to make sure that the air for sure stays at like a good temperature. With cleaning, I usually kind of just clean as I go, but sometimes like everybody, they kind of get a little lax on things and like everything needs a deep clean at once. So I will. It usually takes me like 2 hours, like once every couple weeks, I'll like deep clean everybody, like scrub everybody's bowls, give them fresh water, spot clean the sides, wipe the glass, Usually it takes me like, well, that's not just the frogs. It's also the snakes and the lizards. It usually takes me 2 hours.
I forgot you had snakes too. I completely forgot you had snakes. Oh wow. What kind of snakes do you got, sir?
I have two boa imperators. I have one Argentine boa, one ball python. I have a false water cobra, and then I have a black tree snake. I actually know her species name, unlike everything else. She's a Thrassops occidentalis. I think I'm pronouncing that right. But she's in quarantine right now because she was wild caught, so she's in another room. But she's doing really well.
Nice.
That's awesome. And then you said snakes and lizards, and you said you had a bearded dragon. Is that it, or you have another lizard?
I have the bearded dragon, a crested gecko, a gargoyle gecko, and a leopard.
Cool.
I'm like, man, that is a lot. Now that you think about it. So total, you had more than. What'd you say you had? 25 frogs.
Yep.
And so in total with the snake and lizard, it's like 30 animals there.
What are you like? 40? I don't know. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
And I want to say real quick, congratulations, Simon. 35.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not bad. When do you get to the hundreds, it starts getting a little rough.
Yeah, I've got my hands full right now. That's why I'm like trying to take a break. I'm also in a reptile rescue, so I just adopted out my foster leopard gecko yesterday to a really nice family. So I have to make sure I have space for fosters that come in as well as if my fire-bellied toads breed again. I have to make sure I have space for babies, things like that. So that's what I remind myself before I get any more permanent residents.
Yep.
All right, so how do you feeling right now? How do you feel? You feel good?
Yeah, I feel good.
Because you're at an hour.
Yeah, that's true.
That went by fast. I told you it goes by fast when you're like talking, just talking about the species you love. It just.
Yeah, this is my first time doing like a, I guess like podcast or talking with other people live. So I was definitely nervous about it because I am a pretty shy person at first, but I've had a lot of fun.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Sarah, this is my first time too.
You're doing great.
You too.
He seems kind of a little nervous. He seems a little nervous. You can hear his little voice. No, I'm joking, David. But okay, so I have another question for you, Sarah. So like, what is one piece of advice that you would give to somebody coming in and wanting to work with frogs?
I think as long as I would think like don't let anybody discourage you from getting the frog that you want. Like just as long as you do your research, you can keep the frog of your dreams. Like I got my mossy frogs, and online anywhere you look, they're not beginner frogs. Like that's what people say. But I've had a lot of success with them, and I did my research. And so I don't think you should let that stop you from getting the frog that you want. I don't think that, like, don't be like me and not keep frogs for so long because you're intimidated by it. Just do your research, and you'll be very successful with it.
I like that. And if you're not following Tim, you should. Like, just saying, Tim has a good channel. Subscribe to his channel as well. It's Interpret Exotics. And he talks about everything over there. Tim's the man. He's famous. I'm not.
Everything at one point or another.
But yeah, he's famous. I'm not. So, and then David, I met at the gym and we started talking. And, we just hit it off and became friends. So, and he was like, I work with frogs, and I was like, dude, I'm doing a frog podcast. Like, you should just jump on with us too. Like, it'll be great. So, I was gonna ask another question, but I'm just like, I don't know. Should I ask anyway? Or it's just gonna be like, if you could change one thing in like the frog hobby or anything about the hobby, what would it be and why?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like that's kind of hard because like I haven't had any experience with any like negativity. I feel like if I were to change something, I feel like there shouldn't be. I understand like you can, like for instance, red-eyed tree frogs. There's a plethora of captive bred ones. I wish one thing that we could change is commonly captive bred frogs to stop importing them as much and selling people sick frogs, like or that are more likely to die because then people get discouraged from frog keeping if the frog ends up having something they think it's their fault when you don't know how old the frog is, you don't know if it came in with parasites, etc., etc. That's what I think.
That's true, because a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
people
the
do
same
this.
across the board. Same
But
across the board. We should anything that we keep as pets, we should be captive breeding instead of going out and paying people to harvest them from the wild.
I can appreciate like if we don't have like certain species in captivity and people want to start breeding them for captive, like having pets in captivity. But I think once you have a good amount, I think you should stop it. You're just bringing them in at that point just to make $1.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think
I agree with that though.
there is an argument a little bit on the genetic side because I've heard of like at least with mice because I was in the biomedical area and they talk a lot about like how like with captive mice like because they breed them so much their genetics kind of diminish over time. So sometimes having like a wild component kind of come in does help bolster up the genetic community, but like the genetic like distribution and everything. But aside from that, like at least from like the ecological side of it, yeah, like you know,
That's true.
trying to keep them captive as best as possible is like better probably.
I feel like the average person too isn't like trying to diversify. They just want like a happy, healthy.
Yeah, I'm thinking more of like in terms of like like a conservation
Yeah.
I agree with Sarah.
like kind of like the bigger picture. But yeah, obviously like for day to day, like the genetic diversity is not going to be like a big deal. But that was
Yeah.
just something I thought about, since that's
Yeah.
my scientist mind speaking out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of species in trouble because of harvesting, man. It's not going to get any better. we're not gonna start protecting anything on our own. Their habitats are going to keep getting smaller. Populations are going to keep getting smaller. So
Definitely.
anything we can encourage captive breeding stuff is great.
Tim, but what if like somebody's working with a species that's going in danger and we have it in our hands?
Well,
and
I mean,
we save that species
a really good
breeding.
example of that is the crested geckos. They actually were thought to be extinct for a long time, and they found a small population of them. I don't remember the island now by Australia, maybe New Zealand or something like that. But yeah, I mean, they brought those into captivity, and now everybody's got a crested gecko. We literally brought them back from the brink of extinction with the captive breeding programs, and same type of stuff. I did a video last year on the snake trade, reticulated, like Burmese pythons. Although those are invasive in Florida, they're listed as threats on the endangered species list in their natural habitat. So,
wow.
Hey Tim, were you there when we were talking about the retic and ball python breeding project?
I may have been. There's so many conversations I wouldn't remember it.
So, Mike, I have a question. Like, what do you think of hybrids, Sarah?
I think like, are you talking about like the ball berm like kind of hybrids?
I'm talking about whatever. It could be a crested. Isn't it crested in a gargoyle, or is it? And it's called a calhoun or something.
I mean, I feel like I don't think it should be like overly done. It's definitely like if it happens, like to see that it happened, that's cool. But I don't think it should be something that's becomes normal, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. To me, it's kind of like because I am in a group on Facebook that posts hybrids, and I have seen like a lot of like, well, not a lot, but like a few like berm and ball python hybrids, and I mean they're cool to look at, but I mean I don't know. I guess I'm kind of like indifferent about it because I don't really see it as like a problem at the moment, I guess. Or maybe I just don't know.
I mean, I don't know. People say the only thing that, like, if you do a hybrid, it's only good for a pet. You can't breed it.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't. If you do, I mean, you're successful. That's awesome. Congratulations. But I mean, from what I hear is that you can't breed a hybrid,
I
as
think
far as we know.
at one of the NARBC shows, I saw. I believe it was like a carpet python mixed with like a green tree python or something.
I've got one of those right there in that enclosure above my head.
Whoa, that
Show
was
us, Tim.
pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Show it, Tim.
I get it out.
Show it. Show it.
So I would add, Chris, that the caveat is that hybrids don't really reproduce indefinitely. So sometimes there's certain hybrids that will reproduce one extra time or like a few times in the generation, but there isn't a sustainable like population of hybrids that keep churning out the same type of individual. So like the clear example of that's like the donkey and the mule and all that. You know, they make the sterile mules and then that's it and it ends. But there's even like plant species that will like hybridize and like have a few generations, but then after a while they won't be able to reproduce anymore. So.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Look at that. That's my favorite snake from Tim.
Wow, it's beautiful.
So there's a story behind. Well, I don't know necessarily a story. This is one that I had taken in up a friend of mine who had taken it in off somebody who'd taken ill and couldn't take care of their animals anymore. Had to rehome them. But she is a Jagpondro, jaguar carpet python, green tree python hybrid. And talking about the hybrids and stuff like that, the jaguar gene, the morph, not the hybrid, rather, she's got a lot of neurological and muscle tone issues, as you can probably see. So that's one thing that kind of concerns me a lot with people wanting to play Dr. Frankenstein with a lot of these animals is they started out with the spider gene, where that was notorious for the inner ear deformities and stuff like that, and rolling, and then that's kind of been bred out some, so that it's not debilitating for them. The jag gene and retics and carpets, probably a lot of the other ones too. I don't know what it is about it yet. I haven't really put the time in to research it, but the issues that she has because of that is a lot of muscle tone control. Carpets typically, and green tree pythons, will hang on. They're really, really clingy when you handle them. And like the whole back half of her body is just almost limp. Like when that tail starts to go down my shoulder like that, once it starts to go, it'll just flop. And I've got to, keep that supported a lot more than the rest of her body, just to keep her from hurting herself.
Gotcha. See, that's what I meant, where I was like, maybe I don't know, because like in the groups I'm in, they only post photos. Like if I would have just seen a photo of her, I wouldn't know that she has those issues.
Right. Yeah, she's a
Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, she's a gorgeous animal. She eats well. She's, handleable. She's never struck at me or anything like that. She's got a really great personality, but like I said, she's got those physical conditions that, this is one of those snakes where if you let it go into the wild, it probably wouldn't last.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't have the control to be able to. See if we can get your face right up there in the camera.
Aw.
Look at you.
Hold on. Let me solo that out. Here we go. I like that eye. What are you looking at?
So is her color in person, is it kind of like a yellow against the black, or is it kind of green or white?
It's white, with just a little slight yellow tinge to it. I think the camera catches it pretty accurately.
Oh, I can kind of see it. Yeah, there's a little bit of coloration there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like a little bit of yellow.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And she's really cooperating well now.
Mm-hmm.
more so than the other ones do.
She's beautiful though.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, it's not the hybrid that contributes to any of her issues. It's the Jag part of it. My understanding, and like I said, I'm not extremely well versed in it. I didn't seek her out. I just did happenstance is how I got her. But my understanding is the other carpet green tree hybrids don't have this. So.
Okay. And the one
the Carpandro.
Yeah.
No, not the Carpandro. Was yeah, it's a.
Yeah, Carpandros. I mean, it's Jag.
Yeah, it is, right?
It has the Jag gene, but if you're talking about regular Carpandros, and I've never seen anybody talk about those having any kind of disabilities or anything. She's a good girl.
You know, sir, and I had a question about the frog that we did the flyer on. What kind of frog was that?
The one that was 2 different colors, that's the Amazon milk frog. And then the green one in the back was, I'm not sure if we used that one or not, but the green frog that we considered using, or if we did use, was an American green tree frog.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a clown frog. That's what I thought. I was like, man,
yeah, it's okay.
I love that frog. So that's why I was asking, like, what is the type of frog that was? The one that we used for the flyer. I think it was black and brown, or...
Yeah, it's actually like a light blue and black banding. I can see if one of them is out right now.
Bro, these frogs are awesome. I need a frog and a salamander. I actually want a salamander too. I don't know why, but I do. Or axolotl, but...
You know, a fun frog to keep is the Pac-Man frogs. I had one of those, man, and that was...
They cry too, though, right? I was gonna ask when he was saying that, you know, I've seen the videos of the Pac-Man frogs where you squeeze them on the side and they squeal too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they'll make you cry too if you eat your finger in their mouth.
Oh yeah, they bite hard.
The one that we had was like that big around, man. And I swear his mouth was like that wide. It opened up literally. You'd throw anything in there and he'd eat it.
What about that giant toad that everybody likes?
Seriously.
What is
frog?
Hold on. Oh yes, that's the one.
That's cool.
Let me see your face.
He's cute. Okay, so serious question. How much does one of them run for, sir?
So I got mine as, I think he's about to jump, but I got mine as babies, and I think I paid like 50 or 60 a piece for them, but I've seen adults go for like 100 a piece. Why do they always want to face me instead of like the camera?
Well, it could be the shape of your arm. Like it might just be, it has an inclination to go up your arm. So
perhaps.
There it is.
Go.
I wish my frog was still here. This makes me sad looking at these guys. But it's gorgeous. I'm all sad. I was like, man, I wish I still had my frog. And it was funny too because the next day they were like, he has to eat the next day. So I was gonna go back and get Cricket. And then I go in there to check on him, and he's gone. I was like, oh.
Did you ever think of having cameras around your spot, like a simple camera system?
Actually, you know what? I didn't until you said that right now. Now I'm like, that would have been awesome to have.
Okay, well, let's work on that. My friend has a system. Maybe I can put you on it or something. It seems pretty simple, but yeah, like you might, some even systems might even alert you, like if there's like a large sound or like a large movement. So like if when that happened, the whole lid thing, you might have been able to at least notice it. So
yeah.
I mean, that's cool. That'd be cool. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Hell yeah, that's cool.
It's not too expensive anymore, man. And cameras are great. Great.
Yeah, because Because you just buy. I think you either sometimes they might have a subscription depending on if there's like software involved, but a lot of the time you just buy in the equipment and then you just electricity, right? So
The
Yeah, more
cameras I
power.
got downstairs, they'll I can set them to if there's any motion, it'll start recording, and it's got IR night vision on it. So when all the lights are off, it goes into night vision mode, and you can see just fine.
or maybe Tim's the guy to talk about it. Then I just know a little bit, but it's a good idea.
Oh, they're the stuff I got really cheap, man. I think the cameras are like $30 a piece or something. It wasn't a lot at all. But I mean,
Send me that link.
yeah, tech is so easy. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think these that I got, I might have actually picked up at AutoZone. If I'm being honest,
Wow.
I think because I remember at one point going through, because I've had these things for years, going through AutoZone, seeing these cameras, going, oh, well, let's see how well this works, and I think that's where I might have got these from. I'll look at them.
Yeah, that's where we get equipment these days. We don't have Radio Shack anymore, so
I know, right? Kids,
Which sucks because I thought Radio Shack was awesome.
Yeah, kids don't know nothing about no Radio Shack, right?
Yeah. I remember growing up as a kid, visiting Radio Shack. Now it's not even anywhere around anymore.
Yeah.
Sarah, you know what Radio Shack was, Sarah?
I know what it is. I don't think I ever went inside one though. Maybe
Because
I'm
I think
just
that
kinda
was
humble
what.
for being too young, but older now.
Yeah, no, don't feel bad because I was in a live the other day on TikTok, and there's a kid. He's like, I'm 18, and we all the older people were like, so do you know what Radio Shack is? And then
Oh, really?
They started.
They were bringing it up.
Yeah, they started naming all these old places that aren't around anymore. They're like, no, I haven't even heard of that. And he was like, yeah, see, we're too old for you. It was funny.
You remember Sears?
Yeah. We actually have one here still. We have one here still.
It's still open?
Yeah, here in San Antonio.
Like, all of them in Virginia are like shut down.
Yeah.
Unless this one's, I don't know, this one's about to shut down then. Might be.
Maybe.
But I know we still have only one, and it's at a mall.
Dang.
You don't see too many of those. The only matter of fact, Sears got so toxic. I think the only mall here in Greensboro that it was in, the entire mall is shut down now.
Oh, you're based in Greensboro, Tim?
Yeah, right outside of Greensboro.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I lived in Greensboro for 10 weeks.
Oh, 10 weeks is enough.
Well, it was a summer. It was a research project. It was my first research project. I was at UNCG.
Oh, were you? Oh, cool. Yeah, I used to transport to a lot of the colleges out here between Durham mainly, some out towards Charlotte, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, it was my first time trying Bojangles, and then we got one here in San Antonio now. So.
Oh, so you're in San Antonio too?
Yeah, that's
dude,
why
I love Bojangles. Yeah, I love Bojangles. Bojangles is great.
I had a blast in San Antonio, man. I went down to Fort Sam Houston to see a buddy of mine while I was down there for a while. I was stationed at Fort Hood, and he was down at Sam Houston, a drill sergeant down there, so I hung out with him. And he took me down to the Riverwalk, showed me all that. That's where I got introduced to Dick's Last Resort for the very first time on the Riverwalk. And nobody tells me what the whole story is behind this place. I had no freaking clue what was going on.
Sarah's like, what is that? I see Sarah's face. Sarah, it's a restaurant. So at this restaurant, it's the name, Dick's Resort. They treat you like a dick.
Yeah.
So it's one of those places like, like, hey, get short stack of, they'll literally say, get short stack of burger over here. Not all rude, but that's the restaurant.
Yeah, waitress. I was really more high. I was still in the military at that point, so I was operating way to hell up here all the time anyway. And I walk in there, and waitress asked what she wants, and I was like, "Give me a Coors Light." And she's like, "You want the 12 ounce or the 16 ounce?" I was like, 12 ounce is fine. She's like, "What are you, an effing puss?" Yeah, to put it nicely. And I'm like, excuse me? And I could see my buddy over here looking at me kind of like out the corner of it. And we had a little back and forth, really got nasty. And I I tore into her. And
Poor girl.
I just stopped and she smiled and she's like, "You figured it out." Took off and my buddies were just friggin' rolling. I'm like, what the hell? What the hell is wrong with this lady, man? I'm about to her ass in the river.
But the cool thing is that place is still open though. I love that place. By the way.
Yeah, it's great, man. I mean,
Yeah, actually, I've never been. I
what's
never
going
got
on.
to visit before, but I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Dude, they put
The hats. I see the hats. Yeah.
and they write some dumb shit on there. They're like, she's pregnant or something like that. Something dumb.
It's like they thought she's pregnant, but she's really fat or something. So it's like something really weird.
Yeah, they do that, bro. They do that. It's funny, but I mean,
yeah,
a lot of people take it.
If you wanted to talk to somebody, you take a wet paper towel and throw it at them.
Yeah, but with your hat, right? You're talking about with the hat? Tip.
Do I?
I said that's with the hat, right? When you take it off and you throw it on.
Oh, I didn't do anything with hats. I didn't see any of that stuff when I was there. I did see a bunch of wet paper towels flying across the room.
Well,
It was a lot of fun. It's a gorgeous place.
and I was gonna ask her like if she had any questions for any of us. You know, since we brought you on here, you can ask us anything, Sarah.
Yeah. I do. Could you tell me about yourself and then Tim as well? This is my first time like meeting you guys. I guess like face to face.
Well, I'm Big Flexin, Chris, Flexin, Finesse and Reptiles on Instagram, Untamed and Unhinged Reptile Podcast on Instagram as well. I started a podcast. It was called Sexin and Flexin Reptile Podcast, my very first one. Me and my co-host at the time, we went and we were interviewing just like we're doing now. Became really big because we had some big names on our podcast. We had MJ from Trap Talk, Bob Bowl, Mutation Creation, Billy Rose. It was just a lot of like snake people.
Mm-hmm.
And later down the line, my co-host was like, I don't want to do it no more. And I was like, you know why? And he's like, he's like, I'm done. I was like, all right, cool. He's like, we're going to be cool, but I'm not going to do it anymore. So I was like, all right, cool. So I had to rebrand the podcast because I did it with him. Mm-hmm. But everybody knew me as Sex and Flexin. Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, why are you going to change his name? That's you. And I'm like, but I got to rebrand because kids watch my podcast and them saying Sex and Flexin is kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, I just got to rebrand. So I rebranded and I came up with Untamed and Unhinged. And I went a different route. I wanted to spread positivity. Well, when I came into the hobby, that's what I wanted to do was spread positivity, unite everybody in the hobby. You know, because when I came in, there was a lot of negativity. Back then, it was really bad. People were, you know, always in each other's, like, pages. Like, yeah, it's kind of a lot better. So I was like, I'm just want to spread positivity. I want to get everybody from don't matter where. So that's why I started reaching out to fish people, bird people, frog people. And people are like, dude, I love your podcast because one, it's the same thing every day. It's something different. You never know what you're going to get with your podcast. It's like fish, you know, but I'm doing it because US Art, they fight for us to have our animals. Mm-hmm. Do you know what USARK is?
Yes.
I should ask you that first. Okay.
Yes.
So they fight for our animals. And a lot of people don't know that, like, they're also fighting for, like, the exotic stuff, like the exotic birds, you know, the exotic fish. It doesn't matter. Anything exotic, that's what they're fighting for.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get everybody to come. Dude, like, whoever comes on the podcast, I always ask them, like, so what's your take on USARK? And some people will straight up be like, I don't like USARK, or I don't even know what USARK is, you know? I've had people, don't worry, and they'll tell me their opinion. Mm-hmm. And, you know, this is what this podcast is for. So, but yeah, other than that, I work with retics, milk snakes, colubrids, but like I said, that's pretty much, right now I'm just a reptile guy. I'm about to get into like I want to do a beta fish tank.
Oh, me too.
I actually want to do. I'm trying to get my frog. I thought I had a frog, but it's gone. All set, but it's gone. But
Now you need your frog
Yeah.
camera system. the frog surveillance. Make
Yeah,
sure
I
they
do.
don't jump on you.
Yeah, I do. You're right. You're right.
Chris, I
But yeah,
what's your opinion on like seeing like retics so easily available at reptile shows and being like bred so much?
man, that's a controversy. She threw me under the. She threw me in the fire, bro.
I don't want to.
We didn't.
Nah.
We don't just open up that can of worms with a can opener. We put it under the tire and back over it.
Right.
I
I mean, no, that it's just one of those controversial topics, which it really is, because
Yeah.
a lot of people have something different to say every day.
yeah.
For me, when I talk to other reptile keepers, for me, they're like, we always ask them if they do their research. You know, they ask from the people I talk to. They'll ask them, have you done your research? You know how big this snake's gonna get? What kind of setup do you got? You know, all that information before they even sell them a snake. So, and then there are the ones.
that retics, man.
Yeah, but then there are the ones, like she says, that, you know, just have them out there and sell them, just give them away, and don't tell them anything about the snake, you know?
Yeah, one
And-
time when I was still kind of new getting into snakes and stuff, I remember I was at a smaller local show, and this older guy, like, he was a retic breeder, and he just, like, it was a baby one, like, real small, and he just hands it to me. He's like, oh, look at that, he likes you. You want one? Like, kind of like, and then my boyfriend was like, you know, like, they get, like, humongous. He's like, you're not getting one.
Well, so now it depends on what kind of retic it is, though. So now you got Malins, and now you got super dwarfs and dwarfs, right? Or they're all the same. Dwarfs are just smaller retics, but they still get big. They get 11 feet compared to a Malin.
They base it on the percentage of the locality that it is. Yeah, so I think it's 50% of the locality and up is super dwarf, and below 50% is dwarf.
So do they know like ahead of time, or like just by genetics? Like how do they have an estimate for what it's going to turn to?
Well, it's really dependent on the breeder. You really got to have breeders with some integrity and some honesty.
Like the pedigree, right? Like
Yeah,
like,
because I mean, like you've got the mainlands, of course, and they're called mainlands because they live in the continents, and then the localities live on the islands off of there.
Yeah,
And localities, they just naturally, because of their environment, grow a lot smaller than the mainlands do. But the problem that we're having with the super dwarfs now, like if you get what's referred to as a super dwarf, which is a pure island locality that an adult might get 6, 7, 8 feet. If you've got a good breeder who tracks that locality and they just breed within those, then they'll typically stay smaller. But people, because of the different morphs that are available with mainlands that are not available with dwarfs and super dwarfs, or with localities rather, like people wanting to get, tiger dwarfs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Morphs that you may not see in the localities. They're trying to breed that in. So you get a lot more where people are saying, okay, well, yeah, this is a super dwarf, but in fact, it might be 2 generations away from that locality that's been bred with mainlands.
Yeah, no, they mix the genetics, and so all the dominant genes come in and they change things. And
so you may,
next thing you know, it's growing several feet longer than you thought.
Exactly.
So like in localities, they have Jumpea, Kalatoa, Aztec now.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different.
So yeah, there's like
I think
6.
there's 7 main localities.
Yeah, 7. So,
But yeah, that's the. I mean, if you can get a hold of an actual super dwarf retic, man, those things are so easy and manageable. They don't get that big.
Mhm.
The problem is you get a lot of people that are wanting to cash in on it, and they call something a super dwarf, but it's
Like sell you a
45%
regular
locality or something, So
yeah, so the ones that are doing that, like Tim says, the ones that are doing that, they're just trying to make a quick buck, really.
Yeah.
They're either hurting for money or need the money. And I'm not saying I'm not doing it for money either, but I'm gonna do it responsibly. I'm gonna be like, do you have your cage? Do you like have the proper setup? Have you done your research? Like, cause at home, I'm not in my house in my reptile room, but at my reptile room, I have a notebook full of research of retics, like their localities, like the jump hit, like the percentages and all that. It's at my house. And that's why I'm like, man, when she asked me this, I don't have all that information in front of me. So I was like, oh, you know. So
It's hard for me to talk
that's what
about
it's
it
like.
too,
Yeah.
because I focus more on the handling aspect and stuff like that. I don't pay too much attention to genetics and things. So anytime anybody asks me about genetics, I ask somebody else.
I mean, which is usually it is.
I always see like some retics like they're just like they're so fat because people aren't like housing them correctly. Like they just can't offer them what they need, and it's sad.
Yeah.
Same thing with like some people have anacondas, and I'm like,
I want an
I
anaconda.
don't know, it's controversial. I feel like if you can't offer what Brian Barczyk has for his, like with the huge water feature and stuff, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what they deserve.
See, but like, I think you're seeing like some of the wrong, I guess, I don't want to say wrong people, but the way they're handling, like, some people just get the snake and they come in and they're trying to get used to the snake, you know, and then later down the line, they see other people building habitats or, you know, like a bigger setup for the snake. Like
Yeah.
you'll see it, the reptile community is actually getting really good about that. They're starting to build, you know, bigger enclosures for their snakes. I will say that it's been a lot better than what it was before.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the right setup, believe it or not, they'll call you out on it. They will call you out on it. I mean, but if nobody's gonna call you out on your, you know, your mess ups, then I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. All I gotta say is that if they do call you out on your setups, they're just trying to help you out.
Yeah.
That's all it is. But some people don't take it as constructive criticism, you know. Some people be like, hey, well, you don't need to talk to me like that. Why don't the other person has to be a bigger person and be like, well, can you tell me how to, you know, do a proper setup? You know? But some people, I don't know.
Well, they're just trying to promote accountability within the hobby.
Yeah. Accountability, pretty much it is. But
then there's like the thing in the middle where it's like, why do I have to tell you how to do a setup? Go research on your phone. Like kind of people like that. Where it's like, where sometimes people want to hear it from other keepers and not just go online. I don't know.
I would say stay away from that person.
Well,
I would say stay away from that person because honestly, like, there's other people out there that'll take the time and explain to you, like, you could do this, that, and this. This is what you need. This is what I use. You don't have to do what I do. You know, there's other ways to do it. You don't have to be like, well, why have you done your research first? Versus, oh, you know, I'll help you. Like, what do you need? Like, what do you want to know? Versus, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, people overuse the word research anyway because what one person calls research isn't research. When you actually, I mean, David knows this. I mean,
you know, actually, literally, I downloaded my college biology textbook right now.
Yeah,
I have that all set up just in case something comes up.
Finding something to support what you already think. Research is going out and finding out what the facts are, and
references.
That's a big distinction.
Yeah.
A lot of people
primary
don't
sources
when they start talking about do your research. Okay, yeah, well, these are the facts. This is what we know. This is what you feel about something, and that's cool, but it's irrelevant because this is what the research produces, and that's a distinction that I think needs to be made more than it is sometimes.
Yeah, I think what those people are failing to try to do is just promote self-reliance. Because I think it's just a balance, you know, because like they say, oh, do your research. Well, it's like, like just we want you to be self-reliant. So if you do come to a problem, you can troubleshoot it and you know, find the right thing. But like obviously Sarah has a good point, you know, when someone pulls up to a shop or like is talking to you in person, like you should, you know, and Chris mentions like, you know, give your perspective, right? I think that's healthy. So
yeah, absolutely. it's really good to give, because I'll ask people a lot of times, they say, well, I heard I heard this advice from, it's like, well, who'd you hear from? Where'd you see that from?
Mhm.
The PetSmart flyer said it.
And then it turns into like, well, so and so said,
Let's
yeah.
not look at the PetSmart flyer anymore. Let's put that down. And you just like, I know this person who addresses this topic really, really well. And
That's what I said.
you can direct people over to good sources. So, I mean, that's really the easiest thing to do, because there's so many different people out there with podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff now. You can really vet out who gives good information and who doesn't. So I pass.
Tim's one of them.
I do my best with the little collection that I got here, a little bit of space.
Really, all it comes to though, when we do podcasts, all it really comes to is, all we're trying to do is spread positivity. And people have questions like Sarah did just now. Like, some of those topics are controversial. Controversial.
Yeah.
So, like, they're a little touchy. So, like, he asked me that, I was like, oh man, that's it. That is natural.
I've been dealing with that topic ever since I've started, because retics they're literally such a double-edged sword, man. They can be, mine are the easiest animals in the world to work with. They're easy, they're safe. I have zero hesitation working with my animals. But another person with another animal, it could be life-altering. It could be a freaking nightmare. I mean, I've worked with some retics before that were just terrible and high-risk animals to work with. So there's the whole spectrum between, this thing's the easiest animal to work with, or this is the most terrifying experience you're going to have in your life.
And you can also have variants, right? Like within certain species. So like there might be some species that like you can either have like you said, like it's a whole nightmare, or then it can be on the other spectrum, but they also be really nice. But then there's certain species that the variance is really low, so like their behaviors are still like a very expected, like what you're going to get into.
Right. Yeah, some species are a lot less reactive than others and stuff like that. A really good example of that is when we're talking monitor lizards, like the similarities between the Nile monitors and the Asian water monitors in their appearance and their size and things like that, but their natural dispositions are so different. You can find examples of Nile monitors that are really cool, and you can find examples of Asian water monitors that are really cranky. But naturally, Asian water monitors are a lot laid back and easier to work with, and Niles are a lot more reactive and defensive in a lot of cases, and we'll literally fight off a freaking pride of lions.
I've seen memes about Nile monitors. I've never worked with one, but I've seen memes about it. I was like, using tape record.
Yeah, I
want a croc monitor.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my next video I'm thinking about putting out, is with Niles. I got a 6-foot Nile monitor downstairs that we have a lot of fun. We're finally coming to an understanding after years.
It's very cool.
And then, so that's another thing to think about too, right? Is like vetting, like you said, like the disposition, like the personality of each individual, and like and how to kind of take care of them and like kind of set up their environment so that it doesn't clash with that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of nuance to it, and you find the right person to guide you along it, and then you can be okay. But I was sitting at an expo and did a presentation on retics at one of the Repticons out here, or I think it was Repticon. It was a show me show. But took a couple of my big retics out and did a presentation with them up there. And I'm not sure the retic people that were vending really liked me, because I've got a 16-foot male retic on my shoulders going, these cute little babies that you're going to pick up here are going to turn into this eventually. So,
nice.
And but I mean, I remembered seeing this one kid, maybe 16, 17 years old, had 2 boxes in his hand. One of them was a retic, one of them was a Nile monitor.
Oh God.
And I'm like, I'm just hoping. I'm like, I hope somebody is talking to you about what you're getting to with these animals.
Man, I'm like 16 years old.
Yeah.
Retic and a Nile monitor.
Yeah. And I mean, Niles will fool you, man. Mine, when I had mine, he little 18-inch baby, and he's crawling up on my arm and eating off of me and all this other stuff. And then as soon as he started going into adolescence and I changed his enclosure around, he turned into a freaking demon. I could
What's
barely
this?
interact with him. My Nile monitor.
Oh, it did.
Yeah,
Oh man.
he's
I
really
was like, I was about to say all your animals are tamed. I was like,
Do they,
yeah. Well, it took a long time. I mean,
is that common for now? Monitors to just kind of change once they reach that phase of their life.
they can be really sensitive to environment changes. Like he literally stopped eating for about a month and everything. It might have actually been a little bit longer than that. As soon as I expanded his enclosure and gave him more space, I'm like, okay, you got all this room to move around in now, man. And okay, start running around. Okay, climb up on this. And he didn't do anything. He sat there, stayed in his water, didn't move, refused food for a long time. I'd go to interact with him and he'd just throw his tail at me, stuff like that. So it really set it back. And you start from square one, start working with him all over again. And finally, here the last year or so has been the most noticeable changes in him. To where he, I go down there now, half the time he runs out to the door to see me. If he doesn't, then I'll go in his enclosure and sit down next to him and he just hangs out, tries to crawl up on me and stuff. So, but I mean, it takes a long time, months and months and months, and thousands of hours working with some of these guys to make them safe. So.
Yep. And I like Sarah's questions.
Yeah.
I like the questions you're asking, Sarah. Good questions.
The controversial questions.
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't do controversial
stuff that's like really. There's a lot of different opinions about it.
Yeah.
But the consensus
don't really get talked about. Yeah. It's it was like what Stronghold was saying yesterday. Remember, like they don't tell you. What was she saying, or what were they saying that how they don't tell you like the real stuff?
Yeah, I can't pinpoint that part of the conversation, but I remember in general what they was talking about. They were really cool too. It was good to see them on. But yeah, you get some vendors that they just want to chuck an animal off and make that buck.
Yep.
So another thing to go along with this too is like people barely coming in. You know how you asked about like about doing research for retics and stuff like that. I like Tim's prairie dogs. You have prairie dogs, Tim? Oh. I was like, wait, you have prairie dogs? I think you said this.
That was my last interaction with my female.
Wow.
What up? She bit you really hard. Let me see. Oh.
Dude,
my goodness.
She hates me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what I did to her.
Like
I don't know if she just hates men.
Interesting about mammals, right? Like I don't know, like if you experience it, but the smell, like sometimes they're sensitive like that. And I noticed it with my friends.
All the time I spend with the reptiles.
Yeah, it might be it because I have a friend. He has 3 cats, and one of them loves this certain cologne I wear. And I've tested it. I've worn it like one side or the other side or not at all. And I swear, every time I have it, she'll come up and snuggle on that side that I'm wearing it on. So like that might be something to think about is smell. Like maybe there might be something like offensive to them that you're exhibiting, and so she's getting kind of aggressive or like protective.
That's probably what it is, because the male absolutely loves me. I can go in there and handle him, do whatever I want to, and he's perfectly fine. The female, she gives me about 30 seconds, just enough to get me lured in. And this is every time I do it. I'll start rubbing her, and she's cool for a second, and she starts sneaking her mouth down, and then she loses her damn mind and gets possessed. Bites, gets a hold of me, and as soon as I pull away, man, them claws just going at the bars. Like if you've ever seen that movie 13 Ghosts, that jackal that runs around with the cage on her head.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's her. All the way.
I was like, oh yeah.
Mammals that you have?
Do what?
Are those the only mammals that you have?
Got 2 prairie dogs, 5 rats, a hedgehog, think those are the only mammals.
Wow,
Plus
a very diverse crew in Tim's place.
yeah. I got that. Got those. Got a miniature pincher running around here. She's like 200 years old in dog years. Got 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 retics.
That was something I was thinking about. Since you have mammals too, how like as keeping pets in that perspective, how do mammals and reptiles mix? Because I know humans for sure they don't, right? Because humans have a natural instinct of danger with reptiles, right? So I would imagine it's even worse for animals.
I don't like it. We don't let the dog and the lizard hang out and stuff like that because I mean I'm very much convinced that if I was to put the miniature pincher and the Nile monitor together and came back 2 hours later, the Nile monitor would be basking, digesting the dog. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, no definitely.
So yeah, I don't mix those animals at all.
Yeah, I
don't even let my snakes hang out with each other too much. Every now and then they might get in the same place, like if we're doing a presentation or something somewhere. But I'd seen too many bad breeding experiences with retics. Seen too many snakes attack each other.
I have 2 Bengal cats, and then I have a Brazilian short-tailed possum.
Oh, cool.
Man, everybody always has the cool stuff.
Possums are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Bro,
like
she has 2 Bengal cats. Yeah. I'm like, the Bengal cats are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love them.
They're such a handful. I love them so much. They're like little.
I have a blue Russian cat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm prejudiced against cats. I can't help it. That's my one prejudice because there's all these feral cats running around out here, and I can't find anything else alive in this back 40 behind my house except cats.
Fair.
Yeah.
But that's what they're saying too, though. Like cats are like super invasive, though.
Oh yeah.
Like, cause no lie, in my neighborhood, by my house, where my reptile place is, there's a bunch of kittens right now, just in the yards. They're like straight kittens.
The feral cats are pushing different species of birds and stuff to the brink of extinction.
Yeah, and the thing is, people they also really personalize with those cats and stuff, so they'll feed them and stuff like that. But it disrupts the ecosystem overall. They've done studies with the birds. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Same thing. Is it pigeons, cats, and oh man.
I think it was Australia actually that enacted a law that if you see a cat, you're obligated to kill it.
Yeah, I thought I heard
in Australia?
Like that.
In Australia?
I think it was Australia.
Oh wow.
I always see people say Australia's got it right. So I figured they did something along those lines with feral cats.
Yeah.
I never seen that.
I'm going to look it up and see if I can find the details on it. But they've actually, I think it was Australia, they did this study too. They're seeing that the feral cats are not de-evolving necessarily, but they're re-evolving into previous traits. So you have the feral cats, you bring them into captivity, you get some genetic diversity in there and stuff like that. And then now that the feral populations are getting so big, they say that they're watching them evolve the traits that they started with again, color patterns and stuff like that they had before they were domesticated.
Wow.
Yeah, South Australia bylaws, it's saying something like, under the South Australia Dog and Cat Management Act 1995, any unidentified cat can be seized, detained, destroyed, or otherwise disposed of if found straying.
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they have the broad scale cat containment as well. They have a bunch of stuff that's going in, and it's because it's even worse in Australia because it's an island, right? And so you have all these species endemic to Australia, but the ecology is very sensitive, and so if you have the cats just exploding population, they're going to disrupt a bunch of the local species.
Yeah, and they got everything out there. They got like skinks, carpets. I mean, which is crazy because they can't. If they catch something and they want it, they have to go get a permit for it. It's crazy out there. Because I actually had somebody from Australia on the beta fish, Tisha. Her name is Leticia, but she was like Tisha. She's from Australia, and she was telling us on her fish podcast, like, we're like, so how do you go about getting other animals, or how do you get another, like, if you want something? She's like, well, we have a pet shop, but if you catch something out here in local, you have to go get a permit for it. So I was like, oh, that's cool. That's it's something different.
It's just compliance. It's like they're just trying to make sure everybody's above board and they're following the right rules.
Yeah, versus like, okay, so like, I've had venomous handlers on, and this is another controversial topic. Venomous. Like, what the question is that always gets asked is like, what's your take on new, I guess, venomous keepers coming in? Because like in some places it's required for them to have 500 hours of venomous handling plus a permit, or then you get your permit or something like that.
I feel like I can speak on this because my boyfriend is like one of the biggest like venomous keepers like on social media. He's like, his name's Joey Josselson, and he goes by Call Me the Lamp on stuff. But so he has 2 reptile rooms with venomous in it, and we have like a king cobra, we have like a bunch of different stuff. And I mean, like, I feel like him and I kind of have different takes on it. Like with him, it's kind of like I don't know, maybe it's just because he's used to keeping venomous at this point. He thinks that, for instance, with Florida, with like all the hours that you need and stuff, he's like, okay with the permit, but they should make it like more attainable for people. They shouldn't make it so difficult in a way. But I mean, I respect like the permit process and stuff, but yeah, I think maybe it should be a little more accessible in some places where it's like,
yeah,
making sense.
I think there should be something. I mean, yeah. I know a lot of people, and I'm not big on, I'm kind of a small government person. I don't want, I want them to stay the hell out of my business and so forth. But I mean, when it comes,
I think everybody does.
But I mean, if you get some stuff in that's reasonable, and I think there's nothing unreasonable about asking somebody to show their competency with something and make it known that they've got these animals that can kill somebody. There's nothing unreasonable about that, as long as people don't go overboard.
I feel like it's different too, like keeping like a copperhead, whereas like the fatality rate is like very low unless you have like underlying health conditions, versus like keeping something that has no anti-venom, because like anti-venom is like experimental medicine, or like you might like some anti-venom will have to get flown in. You don't know how long it's going to take for stuff to get in.
Yeah.
So that's something that bothers me, that he keeps some stuff that doesn't have anti-venom. So that worries me. But.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask too, but I also feel like they don't make it attainable that easy, only because like you said, man, I just had the thought too and I lost it. Damn it.
I think it's their confidence level, really. I mean, how and nobody's got a big enough operating budget anymore, and stuff like that. It's just like our local animal control and stuff like that. How much effort is it going to take to get them to implement a permitting process and get the staff that's knowledgeable enough to set up the registration program or the licensing or whatever it is and implement it, and then have enough staff to pay attention to people the way they can get it done within the course of a week or two instead of it taking a year or two, So,
well, okay, I got my train of thought back. Sorry, Tim. I don't mean to cut you off, but yeah, I got it back. So I feel like they don't make it that easy attainable is because we got newcomers like that work with venomous and they're free handling. And not only are they free handling, they're free handling right now. If I was to pull out a rattlesnake, you'd be like, oh shit, in your hand, right? And that's a lot of people don't understand. Like, you can't do that with a rattlesnake. And then somebody goes and tries to pick one up out there and gets bit. So that's why I feel like they don't make it attainable like easily.
Mhm.
I think you have to like work for it if you really want to work with hot. So like here in San Antonio, there's a guy here. His name's Worry's Dad. He's on Instagram. He's a big time venomous keeper
Mhm.
as well. And I hit him up and I was like, look, dude, I'm like trying to get into venomous snakes and I respect the guy. Like he's cool. And he's like, dude, like let me move my house and I'll mentor you. So also having a mentor, I feel like that'll work. That goes to show like you're trying to do that research and stuff like that. So I feel I learn better when I have a mentor and somebody who can show me snakes and I'm hands on.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Everybody's different, but a lot of people say you can't learn that way. So I don't know.
Well,
I
for
don't know.
hundreds of years, that's how we learned apprenticeship,
Right.
relationships in person.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing.
Yeah,
I
but a lot.
appreciate, like Joey for though is like he doesn't free handle. Like he always uses his tools. Like he's as
Tools.
safe as he can be with it. So that's what I appreciate that he doesn't do, because I do see a lot of venomous keepers free handling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mentorship
I
is
feel like-
really important. Even with the retakes and the bigger constrictors and stuff, I really encourage people to mentor in person with bigger snakes and stuff like that. Same thing with venomous. If you're going to handle, you got to have somebody that knows what they're doing teach you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So like me, I got my. Oh, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Me personally, no matter how much mentorship I had, I'm just a clumsy person. Like I don't think I would ever work with like a fast moving like venomous snake ever.
Right?
I don't know. I wouldn't do cobras. If I'm going to do venomous, I want to do like the rhinoceros viper? You seen those? The colorful ones, or the gaboon vipers?
Mhm.
Yeah, those things seem. I mean, I want it more like a showcase animal, but of course, yeah, I'm gonna take it out and handle it, mess with it, but properly. And the guy that I've been talking to, he works with squams, so.
Oh yeah, they're cool. They look like little dragons.
Yeah, they're awesome. So,
Mhm.
and Sarah was like, "Oh man, we already hit 2 hours." But I don't know. I kind of liked this conversation. I liked her.
Yeah.
I liked her questions, and she had some good stuff. So I don't know.
I don't keep any venomous. I don't know that I ever will. And maybe if I ever get a facility opened up or something, I might keep some display animals. But
Yeah.
And the thing about venomous is that you can do everything right and still have something happen.
Yeah. That's true.
And you make one mistake at the wrong time, there's nothing you can do to avoid it. There's no way you can react to a snake fast enough to get away from that bite.
Mhm.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
the venom's in there. There's nothing. It's always just going to be there.
Even little Bob, my Sri Lankan.
Aw.
I've got a video where I slowed down the video one time where he struck at me, and he struck short of my face. He didn't get me, but when you slow the video down, you can see he strikes. He's already halfway back to position before my head even starts to move.
Yeah, no, our reflexes are super slow compared to their movement.
I mean, that's one of the things I used to teach in the self-defense classes and things like that, is as long as you move first and you do it right, the person's helpless, because your nervous system just doesn't operate fast enough to react to something like that.
Yeah, it's big on distances. Like if something's coming in fast, like you need to be far away from whatever is coming at you.
Yeah. So that's one of the things. I just seen that.
Oh yeah, you're just like oblivious, and then it's like right in your face before you can even do anything.
Exactly. I even had this one. I actually put this out on a short where I had this throw out right here on my shoulder, and I looked over. I could tell he was getting ready to bite me. And he's not that big, so it wasn't that big a deal. I looked down at him, and I was like, oh, just don't bite me. And as soon as I turned around, looked at the camera again, he plugged me in the face.
I'm like, all right, sir. It's already been 2 hours. And I know you're like, probably like, man, it was supposed to be 45 minutes. It was vibing. But you had some good questions. So I don't know if you have any more.
David, where have you went to school at?
So I am a San Antonio local. I went to school at St. Mary's. Mathematics and biophysics were my 2 degrees. and then I did study a little bit in graduate school at University of Delaware. And coolest thing I did was I sailed across the ocean from Africa to Florida, collecting samples from the
Nice.
ocean water.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That had to be a lot of fun.
Did you get
Yeah, it
seasick?
was. I don't get seasick. I loved it. I loved it so much. I was excited. I was like, I would get up every day and it would just be like shaking and stuff. I just thought it was fun. So
You'll have to let me know where to find you on Facebook. I'll have to look up.
I followed you on Instagram. So
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to. What's your Instagram?
I followed you too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I followed
Everybody
all
follow
of you.
everybody. Hell
I
yeah.
forgot you have like your computer. Like you can do like multiple things.
I gotcha.
Yeah, no, I don't mean to get too distracted in here, but yeah, I tried. I pulled some stuff up just to keep things interesting in case something comes up. But yeah, I made sure to look you guys up so we're connected.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm trying to think if I have any other questions. Oh yeah, I do. I have one more for Sarah. So what do you think of the podcast, Sarah?
I loved it. Yeah, it was definitely like you said. I didn't think the time was gonna go by as fast as it did, but it did.
And it goes quick when you're vibing and hanging out, right? What, Tim?
It's been
Every
great.
time, man. That's like I said, it takes that first 30, 45 minutes or something for everybody to just get comfortable and figure out where to figure everything out. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we can talk for 6 freaking hours.
Yep.
So I have a question for Sarah. So actually, I lived in Delaware, so I've passed through Virginia a few times.
Mhm.
What do you think about Virginia barbecue?
Like, is that a name of a place or just?
No, just in general. Like, because I went to this place called Dixie Bones, and I personally liked it. I didn't know. I'm curious what a local thinks. So,
I mean, no complaints. Whenever I've gotten barbecue, it seems to be pretty good.
okay, yeah, I was just curious if there was like an inside scoop or something. Because I one of my first trips, I went from Delaware to Florida, this like down the East Coast. I was taking a bunch of like glassware and like samples in like a van, like with the school. So I passed through Virginia and I ate some food there. So
Nice. We plan on maybe next year moving to South Carolina, possibly.
Make it
Because,
North Carolina. We got better laws here.
You said
Yeah,
North
but-
Carolina?
but South Carolina
Where?
has better beaches, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to
way.
get all the reptile people in North Carolina anyway.
Either way, though, like
Why?
we'd have to rehome our tegu, like if we moved to one of the Carolinas.
Oh yeah, no, that's something I even think about. You guys have so much stuff moving is like probably like really intensive.
It'd be hard
You
because
could probably get your tegu permitted here in North Carolina.
Oh, really?
If you've got some proof that you had it before the ban was active, they may. Like I know the first year they were pretty flexible on it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've had my tegu permit.
And actually, that was something I was thinking about was transportation. So like, if you're picking up like a frog or two or a few different specimen, like what's usually the way you do that?
So if I usually whenever we go to a show that's like really out of town, I'll make sure that I have a spray bottle with Repta-Safe water in it, because sometimes when I buy frogs from people, they'll just have like a paper towel or like nothing in the deli cup, and so I don't want them to dry out on them. Or if they're in something that's really small, I'll bring like a container, a bigger container with me, or like a critter keeper that I'll put in there with like some moss or like damp paper towel. And then we always bring like a cooler chest with it. And so we put the animals that we get in there, and we close it. And then if we stop, then we'll open it.
I'm sorry, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I think there's feedback. Your audio is picking up in your mic.
Yeah, it is because my headset died, so now you're like right in front of the phone here, so I'll move it way back here. Is it still bad?
I think it's better.
Well, I think it's us. We're the ones that create the feedback. So. You could try lowering your volume a little bit. I don't know if there's a mic sensitivity option.
It's probably the.
Yeah, so what you can do, you can mute yourself when we're talking, and it won't do that.
Okay. Well, then we'll do that. Well, I don't know how much talking we're gonna do because my phone's about to die too, and I don't have my charger here.
I was thinking of heading out myself too. I need to get some groceries. I had a long day, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably head out.
Well, but before we get on out here, Sarah has to say a positive message for everybody watching, and you too, David. So you're not off the hook.
Yeah, I have to say, I this is very enjoyable. I'm kind of like a little mini wealth of knowledge, and being out of school and stuff, I kind of feel like I'm sometimes underutilized. So being on here talking to you guys, it's been really fun.
See, David, I have a friend out here, Christina Hill, who's a genetic researcher out of UNC. And we do a lot of stuff. We do a lot of educational stuff. So yeah, I would definitely love to hear you and her together have a conversation one of these days.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like maybe even really soon. I'm actually so yeah, I met Chris at the gym, so I'm just kind of like jumping around. I got laid off recently, so I've just been doing a bunch of odd jobs, but I've been looking into getting back into science or anything analytical. But I do have a little bit of a background in genetics. I studied some bioinformatics when I was in undergrad too, so
Right.
I know I have a background in that as well.
Sweet. Yeah, we do every Saturday at 7:00 Eastern. I go live, and and a lot of times Christine's in there hanging out with us as well in the chat and so forth. She tends to be camera shy most of the time, but yeah, that's my one set date one set time when we're always on every week.
And that's 7 p.m.
7 Eastern on the YouTube channel, Intrepid Exotics.
In the evening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 6 p.m. our time, brother.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll jump on sometime. I think this Saturday I might be busy. I have to fill in for something, but maybe in the future I'll be in touch.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that'd be a really good conversation. Christine is really sharp, and she's been keeping reptiles a long time. She's kind of my conscience. Every time I've got something questionable and I'm thinking about putting out, I run it past her, and she typically talks me down off the fence.
Yeah, a little bit of like a consultant kind of.
Yeah, she's my conscience.
Yeah, I love Christina. I do. I love Christina. I know what you're talking about. So yeah.
Yeah, her and Jim are awesome folks.
Okay, you, Sarah?
All right. Thank y'all for having me. Like, I had a lot of fun. I'd definitely do it again. And thank you to everybody who's listened to us chat and everything. Again, it was a lot of fun. And my message would just be, maybe it's generic, but to just do what you love.
Pretty generic, but it's your positive thought. That's what, you know. A lot of people say a lot of different things, so but I like hearing it. Always leave a positive note. Then you want to leave one, or you're gonna stay with the same one?
Man, get on with US Arc. Got to get on. Get your membership. Keep up with them. Keep up with what's going on. It's real easy to fall out, especially moving into the summer towards the fall, because the legislation's already been knocked out here, and we've won. Okay. We need to be building up for the next fight. We need to be building up for the next Florida situation where the FWC decides to have their brains fall out again, and get the whole country involved on stuff like that, so that we can help protect keepers and protect the animals and all that cool stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Stay ready. Stay ready. I have the mic way down there, so if you see me talk like this, it's because it's way down there. But I want to thank Sarah for taking time out her day, and didn't know it was going to be 2 hours. Can you hear me, Sarah? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I want to thank David too for taking time out of his day, and appreciate you coming on, brother. Appreciate you, Tim, as well. Tim, if you're not following Tim, go follow Tim. Perfect Exotic. Subscribe to his channel on YouTube. He has some amazing knowledge. Like, that's why I always bring him on when I have like stuff I don't know. So that's why I'm glad they're here, because I was hella nervous too, Sarah. Because like I said, I really didn't know anything about frogs, and I'm trying to learn. So I will be hitting you up and about white tree frogs, because eventually I plan on getting another one. But if y'all don't have anything else to say, then we out of here.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go stuff my face.
All right.
Well, I'm hungry too, man. I actually have to go to the restroom. I always hold it so long. But
especially
all right, guys. So you already know.
If you're in the hobby, if you talk to anybody there and throughout the community, just lift each other up. Be positive. You never know what somebody's going through, so just just be nice, be kind, always show love, be supportive. On that note, we're out of here. Y'all have a great night. Love you guys.
Good night.
Hey guys.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.